Welcome to Business Playmakers, the podcast that meets with innovators, trailblazers, and leaders to learn about their experience and what success really means. Hosted by entrepreneur and leadership coach Kyle Gorman.
Business Playmakers is presented by the Employer Blueprint. Employer Blueprint is dedicated to management and leadership development through one-on-one coaching and group seminars. You can find free resources from Employer Blueprint through YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And for more information, simply visit employerblueprint.com. Hello, this is your host, Kyle Gorman, and I'm pleased to introduce you to today's business playmaker, Molley Rickets. Molley has had an extensive career and a very respectable career in human resources and workforce development and recruiting. She's worked for companies such as Sears and Citi Group, but she owned her own business, which she sold in 2010, went back into the corporate world for a little while, and then decided that really entrepreneurship was for her. And so she went back and started her new company, Incipio Workforce Solutions. And I had a great time. I think you'll hear that through the course of the interview. Just really had a fun time talking to Molley and just kind of sharing stories. Obviously, we share some similar interests given our industry and my business, Gorman Recruiting. And so having the opportunity to just kind of talk to her about the industry and about experiences, we just had a blast and had a great time in her office. So hope you enjoy the show as much as I enjoyed having the opportunity to get to know Molley. So today we've got Molley Rickets on the show, and I really appreciate you joining us and being able to share with others kind of your story and what success has been for you, and hopefully we'll take a moment to be able to help some others as well. So let's just jump right in, and why don't you share with us a little about your story and your professional experience and how you got to where you are now.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I have been in the recruiting staffing industry for the last 20 years, but actually got the bug for it when I was in college, and I sold sleep apnea products before sleep apnea was cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and recruiting is sales, right? Essentially, you're going in and you're trying to convince someone to leave their current position for an opportunity that you have.
Right.
So a lot of the skill that I have in sales comes from trying to sell something before it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I worked with Citi Group / Sears Credit for the first 10 years of my career.
Yeah.
And I found myself in the second wave of layoffs that they had as a financial institution. So talk about devastating with a young family. And I had put so much into that position. Took some time off with the severance package that I was given, and in doing so, a lot of the managers that I had recruited for a while in my tenure there at Citi found out that I had been laid off and were since with other companies and called and said, "Hey, I don't like my recruiter that's trying to fill this job. Can you help me?"
Yeah.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
So the company really started itself based upon a reputation that I built with the public company.
Yeah. Wow, that's neat. So along the way, and I should say as well, just kind of adding to that, from there, you were able to start your company and you went through some, I'll just say, iterations of the company as it's been over the last several years.
Yes.
And as you've defined kind of who the organization is and what the organization is and what the future looks like. So, so in doing that, and how many years have you worked, just kind of in aggregate, how many years have you worked for yourself?
Well, the last 10 years, of that 10 years has been probably a total of about 4.5 years.
Yeah.
In that 10 years has been with one company that I originally sold to.
Yeah, but still, same as a recruiter. Just
same deal.
They recruited you to be their recruiter.
Right. They bought me out.
Yeah.
My line of business. Yeah. And it was a technology company, so there was a lot about that individual running the company and myself where he's trying to eliminate the human element of the world, and that's all I do.
Exactly.
So clearly we saw that this was not a good partnership.
A clash in cultural concept. Sure. Yeah. So along the way, through the course of your career, who are some mentors that you've had, and what is it you've been able to learn from them?
Wow. I have a few. And it's not that I don't ask each of them the same question to see their response, but I know the ones that are going to give me the answers that I need.
Yeah.
Whether it be professional, personal, so on.
Yeah.
But there's one in particular that we haven't worked together, and actually I had my second child, who is now 17.
Wow.
So it's been that long that we've known each other, and we probably haven't worked together in 15 years.
Yeah.
But she's always right there.
Yeah.
Just to be able to truly turn an ear and listen to the story and situation without taking it me as an individual.
Right.
Because sometimes we can get a little excited about our own situations.
I've known people like that.
Yeah. I don't really know that she's referring to me, but just to give you that true, realistic point of view, to really be that person to call
keep
on.
you grounded and be able to see the whole picture.
Right.
That's good. So through the course of your career, are there any real peak or pinnacle moments, like just sort of professional wins that you've had, those moments where you say, my legacy, I want to be able to go back and tell my kids, my grandkids, like, this is what I did. This is what Mom was able to succeed in this part of her career. That's just a real memorable moment for you.
Sure. I would have to say when I was given the opportunity to restructure through Citi Group. After a time that I had spent what I considered blood, sweat, and tears into a position to grow and become from a staffing specialist to a project manager within the talent acquisition division of the organization, to find out that my services are no longer needed. It was a big deal. But unluckily, I had the opportunity to take really a day before I had to go in to receive the final destination paperwork. And as terrifying as that was, at some point in the night, I realized the people that were going to give me this message, how terrifying that would have been for them. And in fact, that ultimately it was not about me or them. It was about a different destination and path that I was supposed to be on. And there was a power of knowing that it was going to be okay and accepting it to be that. And when I went in and they gave me my paperwork and said, well, we are no longer in need of your services. Here's your paperwork. Here's your package. And do you have any questions? And of course I had the typical ones, the basics. I said, and you could just see the fear in their eyes and the terror in the room.
That's all you're supposed to ask.
Right.
When's my last paycheck?
No more questions, no more questions.
Yeah.
And I looked at them, and these were people that I'd worked with for many years. And I looked at them and I said, I can't imagine what you're going through right now. I know what I'm going through, and I can't imagine having to deliver this message. I can't imagine the night that you've had to prepare for this, and I'm not the only one that you have to give this information to. But I want you to know that I firmly believe that when a door is closed, as big as this door is from me and my perspective, that I cannot wait to see the garage door that gets opened for me. So even though it was a huge life change, I mean, that has taken a hard right to a different direction. It was a huge opportunity to look at things from a different perspective.
Well, and I know, you being in that world, that recruiting world, and just dealing with employment in general, I deal with that as well. And just that, the worst days of my life have been the ones when I have to terminate someone. And,
Absolutely.
And I can empathize with what they're going through, because I was part of a reduction in force myself at one point. And I can empathize with that, and I truly say, and I don't mean this condescending at all, like, it is harder for me when I'm delivering it than it was when I received it.
Absolutely.
The writing was on the wall. I knew this was going to happen.
Right.
And, I'd sort of mentally prepared for what this was going to be. But, and admittedly, I oftentimes will take the rest of the day off after I do that. Like, I just need that It's so exhausting.
Yes.
And frankly, if it's not, there might be something wrong with you.
Right.
Like if you enjoy that,
yeah.
there might
the
be
people
something
that
wrong
do that
with you.
professionally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it. Yeah.
What is that movie, Up in the Air or something, where the guy that goes in and that's all he does all day is
just
deliver
an X-Men. I can't imagine.
No.
I can't imagine the life of that. But no, I can certainly respect that, and I'm sure it was probably a bit relieving for them just to kind of know that you understood where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're enjoying it,
right?
But they know those are their marching orders as well.
But it was amazing how I felt after that.
Yeah.
I was scared to death.
Yeah.
I was terrified. Let's be honest. 2 young kids, and we had just moved, and horrifying. Really, it was. But looking back on it now, thank God it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's incredible. So on the flip side of that, I'm sure you've had some moments where you can kind of look back and say, "Man, I really messed that one up," and learned some
Only
lessons.
One?
Just that one time when that happened a few years ago. But what is sort of that biggest valley that you can remember that you say was just a fail, just a professional fail, and you wish it had never happened, but you learned a lot of lessons and you're ready to move on. But is there a moment that really stands out for you?
I had the most difficulty coming up with just one that was really above all else. But the one that comes to my mind almost every time when I think about a failure is, there are several, but one in particular where, the mouth, those knee-jerk reactions of the inability to filter or just not speak.
Yeah.
I struggle with that talent.
I hear you.
The whole thinking out loud thing is more true.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But it happened. I was standing in front of a group of people giving a presentation and talking about interviewing skills, the do's and don'ts.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And a gentleman asked me a question about, well, why can't we ask certain questions? Like, what do you do on Sunday afternoons? How long have you been married?
Yeah.
What year did you graduate from college? The big ones that you don't ask.
Yeah. Why can't we ask those? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And room full of people.
Yeah.
And my reaction to his question, because he was almost being picky,
Yeah.
like trying to get me going.
You really,
Well, clearly it worked. And my reaction, I just the comment that I came back with of something very snotty and unprofessional.
Yeah.
I grabbed my mouth and I said those words out loud.
That didn't stay up in my head.
Yeah. Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Yeah. That
please?
one actually came out.
Yeah. And taking that time to just stop and automatically own that humility.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I should not have responded that way.
Yeah.
However, in the
not
future,
that it was wrong, but
my reaction to it was incorrect. So usually my fails have to do with my knee-jerk reactions. Yeah. I've gotten better at it though.
Process.
Yeah.
Or when the filter sometimes just take a little break.
Yeah.
Just take a break.
Let's just pause.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about where you are right now and specifically this concept of success. And so I guess just starting off with that, how do you define success? What does success mean to you?
Success to me is being able to recognize my weaknesses and then surrounding myself with people that are great at everything I'm not.
That's good. Yeah.
Because that's what makes me a better person.
Right.
I have this amazing person in business that I reach out to a lot, and he says at the point in time that you feel that you're the smartest person in the room, you need to change rooms.
Yeah.
And I have held on to that every time.
Yeah.
Whether it be true or not. If that's a feeling, then there's a reason that you have that. Right. So taking that to say that the team that I have around me is great at everything I'm not is true.
Yeah.
We're all equally great at something that the other is not.
Yeah.
And as long as you have that camaraderie and transparency, that's how I define success.
Yeah. That's really good. It's definitely that's a great illustration of being able to check your ego in the process.
Yep.
And I think one of the things a lot of people have challenge with is just understanding their weaknesses and or accepting those weaknesses.
Yes.
And oftentimes we know them, but we certainly aren't going to tell somebody else that
right.
that's a weakness. So that takes a big person just to be able to admit that not only this is a weakness, but I need to find other people that can do this.
Right.
That's really good. And so, you had said you've got some great people around you right now. And so as we talk about, do you consider yourself successful? But I guess as we go beyond that, what are some keys to your success as you've been able to achieve it at this point in your career?
Well, the first question of do I think I'm successful, it depends on the day. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can change throughout the day.
Yeah.
And that's truth right there. Mm-hmm. But I do try to separate my wins and writing those down, because the losses are so much easier to dwell on and pick at.
Yeah.
And there are successes, no matter how big or how small.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize those too.
Right. Right.
So that for me would be one to think if I am successful. Depends on the day.
Sure.
But ultimately, to look at, when I think about the other folks that I work with and their success, holding them up and projecting who they are and what they are and what they've done and what they can do and their awesomeness, and having that platform to stand on to promote them, there's no greater feeling.
Yeah, and so that's really good. So once you've surrounded yourself with those people, recognizing them for who they are and what their abilities are, and encouraging them to be themselves, which helps you thrive, helps them thrive.
Right.
That's great. And so now let's look forward a little bit. Professionally, what do you think the next 10 years look like for you?
I was dreading this question. I really don't know. I didn't know that 2.5 years ago I would be where I am today.
Right.
I think where I'll be in 10 years, I think being open to whatever happens over the course of the next 10 years. I can tell you what I would love to be doing. But I also say every Wednesday and Saturday that I think I'd be a great lottery winner too, and that hasn't happened yet. So I'd be a very giving philanthropist type person, and it still hasn't fallen in my lap.
Yeah.
So sadly I don't really know how to answer that question. When someone's standing there with the glass of wine and swirling it around, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I can't. I can barely get to the end of next quarter and trying to set goals for 2018 without stressing out and thinking, okay, if this, then that, or if that, then this, and if that,
What about this other thing? I hadn't even thought about that till now.
Better have a lot of crayons in that box.
That's right.
But, so I guess that's an answer to an answer.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. And so, again, kind of knowing that's not really the way that you think is kind of this long term, but have you ever thought about the concept of retirement? What does that mean to you? What does that look like for you, do you think?
Well, my goal is that this opportunity would actually fund, I don't have a name for it yet. It'll happen. I would like to buy some land and build little houses and take women and children that are from battered and beaten and broken home and move them out. Move them out. Give them that house, that space, have on-site schooling, teach them skills, whether it be architectural or graphic design or building or welding or something to be able to have the confidence and take their life with their children to the next step. As a former volunteer at Center for Women and Families, you get to meet these women in particular that are from these situations, and it's so easy for them to go back because they don't know how to take care of themselves, or they don't have the confidence in themselves to take care of themselves and their kids. And the significant other can find them because they're there in town. You know, right. So I just have to believe that if given a different point of view, if shown a different perspective, that at least 50% of these people would choose a different way, and in that they would be better and their children would be better, and I have to believe that. So the original plan was that this business would go to fund that opportunity. So I guess that's where I think I could potentially be in 10 years, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm still trying to make this one work.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so, you know, we talked about the lottery just a moment ago, and you've got this philanthropic dream. So what do you do if this afternoon, whenever you leave here, you find out you just won $1 million? What do you do with it?
Just $1 million?
Just $1 million.
Okay.
I know it's $1 million and $100 million are two different. Those are two different lifestyle changes.
Well, I think the Powerball's up to 400.
It is 430. Yeah. 430.
So no one won last night.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm still here.
Yeah. Because you make a great lottery winner. It's coming up in a couple more days.
Right. $1 million.
Yeah.
Well, first I would take at least half of it and take that for myself and my husband, my kids, my parents. Everybody could use a little bit, right? And then what would I do with the other half? Well, what would make the most sense? Where am I going to get the best return? If it's taking it and turning it over to an organization that needs it, that's doing greater good, that's great. If it's looking at it and spending it and turning it into this company and hiring people to add value to the organization, because let me be honest, I have a lot of weaknesses and I have not yet filled those opportunities.
Sure.
So what would make the most sense and the greatest spend? Because I mean, if I was given $1 million, it wasn't mine to begin with, so what's the best use of it? Yeah,
that's great. And so I know you like to help others, so let's talk about that for a second as it relates to kind of the business world and the professional world here. What are some characteristics that you could define that you've seen in your favorite either boss or coworker, just people in general when it comes to the business world? What are some personality characteristics that you tend to admire or cling to? You say, those are people I want to be around, those are people I want to work with and I want to work for.
Have you ever met someone and you can just automatically see their joy? Even if they're going through this horrific life experience, they still have joy. That's an amazing person. You know, the resilience that they can just turn around and pop up and they're, you know what? We got this. Let's keep going. So that would definitely be one. Second, the greatest characteristic would be of non-judgment. There are a handful of folks that I can call upon and look at to say that they're not judging. And I think that has a lot to do with inner peace. You know, that people aren't comparing or
comfortable themselves.
Yes.
And,
the human element is so unpredictable when it comes to that.
Sure.
And then the final thing that would be most important to me when I think about the characteristics of those that I would love to be around and enjoy being around is humility. You know,
that's good.
Just to be able to say, I can't do this. I'm good.
I need help.
I need a hand.
I tap out.
You're it. Tag.
That's right.
You know.
And so, as you think through that, are there any personality characteristics that you just try to steer clear from, that you find just kind of toxic, that you think these are people I don't want to work with? I don't want people to develop those personality characteristics. Those aren't the people that I need to be around.
First and foremost would be the individuals that whenever you're talking about a situation, oh yeah, I've been through that. And then you go to a complete opposite extreme of something else. Oh yeah, I've been through that.
In fact,
really?
I did it better and different. And let me tell you about
and this
that
is how it worked out.
Exactly.
Really? And how old are you? What have you done in your life? So individuals that, for whatever reason, always have to one up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Secondly would be arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me insane. And that's probably why I went off on the guy the last time the situation happened. Because I'm like, dude.
Right.
You're a manager. No. See, there it goes again. The mouth. But I definitely would say arrogance. And then finally, entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
We work with individuals every day that, I need to get a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you get that every Friday.
Yeah.
For showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bonus.
That was it. Yeah.
And you know, there are many folks that look for handouts.
Yeah.
Some I would say maybe 10, 15% are worthy of it.
Yeah, legitimate, yeah.
The other 90, 85, probably not.
Yeah. I've often said that, and I've had a couple people question me on this, even as of late, that I've said, I don't think people deserve anything. I think you earn things. Mm-hmm. And I've even kind of taken it a step to say, like, what you deserve is when your boss said, I'll pay you this much money to come to work Monday through Friday in these hours, you deserve to get paid.
Right.
Because we agreed on that. And human to human, handshake to handshake, we agreed, and you deserve that.
Totally
because
agree.
I respect you as a human.
Yeah.
Other than that, you earn anything else.
Right.
And if the boss decides that you don't deserve that anymore and they cut ties, you didn't even deserve that.
Right.
But I wish that we could get this concept of I deserve sort of out of our, we need to come up with better words, because I think people overuse it so much, and that sense of entitlement that, well, I deserve it. Well, why do you deserve that? You know, you're getting paid every week for this job that you're doing, and you agreed to that. This was kind of a contractual obligation, like, I'm going to do this job, you're going to pay me this much. You know, you were good with that 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. What have you done different? Now, I hope you earn your way to millions, but this is what you deserve because it's what you agreed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and now looking at it from the other side, to where I'm responsible for making sure that there's money in the bank to make payroll every Friday.
Yeah.
It is definitely, I have learned to appreciate that statement that says it's not personal, it's business.
Yes. Yeah.
I never understood that
Yeah.
until that weight was on my shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a different mindset.
Yep.
That goes into it whenever you have to manage all of these different things and all these different plates up in the air that you have to try to keep spinning. That it may literally have nothing to do with you.
Right.
It's just the organization, the business is bigger than one person, including me. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not about what I want, what you want. It's bigger than that, and that's a good thing to understand.
And I think one of the things the greatest things that I've recognized over, you know, with all of that started 10 years ago with the restructuring with Citi Group, was one, it's not all about me, right?
Yeah.
And two, what it takes to get this place going, my current company, what it's taking to get this pushed and working in a well-oiled machine is not the same things that it's going to take to run it when it's at a different level.
Yeah.
And I may not be that right person
Right.
to do that.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to recognize as well. Some people don't recognize that until it's too late.
Right.
So, but you're right. There's a big difference between running a startup, running a small business, to running even a medium business.
Yes.
Or, there's certain levels and certain tiers that you hit, whether it be on, staff numbers or, P&L reports, that once you hit a certain level, things change.
Yeah.
And I always admire when I hear of, startups that have gone to make millions and or billions, and when they say, when we reached this point, I knew this is beyond me, and one of the best decisions I made was to hire this person to take my job. Like, that's hard. It's really hard to think about, but that's good that, just to have that understanding of, I know where my strengths are, and if this isn't it, I need to find somebody who can do it. Do you have any just resources, whether it be books or authors or speakers, that you could recommend to others that have just meant a lot to you, that you think have helped you along the way?
In particular, Patrick Leone, but who doesn't know him?
Oh, yeah.
The book that I seem to find myself continuing to read, and it's such a quick read, is I know the title is a little bit risque, but Getting Naked.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
a great book. Yeah.
It's just, that's the definition to me of truly going in and humbling yourself that I don't know if I can do this.
Right.
So tell me what your problems are,
Yeah.
and let's see if we can make this happen.
Yeah.
Instead of going in with all the right answers.
Right.
That to me continues to be one that I reach for again.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things about that book is, and where it really kind of changed my concept in handling clients, is the way that they explain. You just start helping.
Yeah.
Just start helping, and then they'll realize, oh, we need you here, don't we?
So you do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it becomes less of a sales pitch and more of a, we're a resource and we can help you. And I love the way that he explains that story, which I love. I just like the way he tells a story. But whenever he goes in and he kind of explains that story and says, so, they went in and they just started asking questions and then answering things and saying, well, you should try this and maybe we could do that and the other. And they hadn't paid a dime. And they've given them tons of advice already.
Right.
I love that concept of just, you go find a way to help people and they're going to want to come back to you.
Right.
They then see the value and the need. That's
well, and the one gentleman, I can't remember their names, I'm sorry, but the one gentleman that worked for the big name, and they were this and they were that, and he just didn't like them. He just didn't like them.
I don't know why.
I don't even know him, but I don't like him.
Yeah.
And then for his character to turn around and then see it as a value and appreciate that. That says so much about the businesses and the people that we think are competitors in any industry, not ours specifically, but I don't like them just because I don't like them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. All right. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm really funny though.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll like me if we hang out, I promise. Yeah. That's good. Do you have any others that that you reach to, or that just seems like when things come up you think, that reminds me, it always seems to remind me back to this book? Or
I do. I have a book that I got as a textbook in college, and it's Teams for Success. Yeah. And it has more Post-its and more. It's like, how they start out thin at the normal size, but then after use they're expanded. Like you got to put books on them to get flat.
Yeah. A little air in there.
Yeah. That's the one I go to the most. Yeah. It's this really cool book that it's got the outline, and you go through and you just relate your situation to it, and you look at it and you turn to the page and it's got the problem, the ideal question to start with, and then A or B, A or B, A or B. If A, then maybe B. Yeah.
That's a very simple way to
think
through it. Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's not as big as I think it is.
Right.
And I think
that's
maybe
neat.
that's why it's the best.
Yeah.
But it's a little tethered and
it's been
well
used. Yeah. Well used.
I mean, other than the regular any type of entrepreneurial. What's the one that I read just a few weeks ago? You think you're a badass, or
I haven't read that one.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And is it kind of a check your ego at the door type, like a leaders eat last kind of concept? Is that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing your talent and owning it and using it and going with it.
Okay.
So it's I'm gonna have to go back and reread it.
Yeah.
Because there were a few points that were kind of like that I didn't agree with. Yeah. So, but there's still some meat in there that I'm sure I can take away.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens as you read and oftentimes, at least what I find for me is, I love reading books, and as I'm going through those, I think, no, I don't really like that. Well, then the 2 chapters later, I'll start to understand the context.
Right.
Which like, okay, well, I can sort of see it from that perspective. And sometimes that second or third read is one where it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, reading comprehension in school was not one of my strong suits. So rereading is definitely
kind of
something
helps
I
once
do.
you see that big picture and go back. Yeah.
Yeah, those notes and highlights. Yeah.
Well, before we finish up here, what type of advice could you give to others that are out there that are striving for what success looks like to them, that are trying to achieve their goals? What kind of advice could you give to them?
Drive towards your passion, not the money.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
The money will come.
Yeah.
Some days it may not feel like it.
Yeah.
But it will.
Yeah.
And even if it comes in the form of another monetary way, sometimes it's not always in the ability to pay a bill with, but
Right.
the reward comes in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
When you are recruiting for the next CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, and you call to offer them the job, and what this candidate's been through, and that they've been unemployed, or they've been struggling, or they're just horrible, and that switch that changes for them, where they start talking, well, I need more money. What's my bonus opportunity? What's my stock options? And you're like, wait
a second.
4 months ago you were desperate, and
I'll
now
anything.
you're
Just foot in the door.
Yeah. But when
Yeah.
you call the folks that that maybe have been unemployed, and they're hanging up the phone from the call, and they're like, woo!
Yeah.
You're never gonna get the job.
Yeah.
No, that's reality.
It's a special day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always one of my favorite moments. Like that, those are my favorite calls.
Yeah.
When you get to tell someone, and admittedly, in our business as we've grown, I'm not the one that makes those calls much anymore. But every once in a while, I'll get that, and I did. I remember I had one. It was probably, it was 7 or 8 months ago now, and it was like I just remembered that joy of being able to make that call.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, we just left a meeting with them, and this is what they're going to do. And and you could hear her almost breaking down in tears.
Yeah.
And I said, if you want to, think about it tonight, I don't need to think about it. I want, when can I start? Can I start tomorrow?
Yeah.
So we will get things moving. And there is just something about that just sort of warms your heart.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're impacting somebody's life.
Yeah.
You're making a change in their life and in their kids and in, everything. It's just, there's something that warms your heart about being able to do that. And I know that's our world, but everybody has that something in their world. Everybody's got their thing that when they see this out of someone, they can kind of look back and say, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I want to repeat that. There's kind of just a natural high that comes from that.
Right. Defining your joy.
Yeah.
That means so much. And like you said, we're changing lives.
Yeah.
No matter how small or how big.
Yeah.
And when you think about the differences that you can make just with something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's there's power in that.
Sure. Absolutely. That's great. Great advice. Before we finish up, how can the listeners contact you or learn more about your business?
Sure. IncipioWorks.com is our website.
INCIPIO.
Correct.
Works.com.
And then Incipio is actually Latin for new beginnings.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Perfect.
little play on words there for you.
I like that.
New Beginnings Works was taken.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So
that's
get a
our
Latin.
website.
Yeah.
Or Molley, Molley, at IncipioWorks.com for email.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah.
Thank you for checking out today's Business Playmaker. Links to the resources discussed in today's episode are available in the show notes. For more information and resources from your host, you can visit him at www.kylegorman.com. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast for the latest episodes. And until next time, make it a great day.